Welcome to Biblical Preaching. It's time to catch up on some of my reading. I'm thankful to Kriegel Academic for sending me a copy of 40 Questions About Islam by Michael Aaron Bennett, Matthew Aaron Bennett. This is part of their 40 Questions series. There are a growing number of Muslims in my community, and I wanted to better understand their religion. To that end, I did buy a Quran, but I have not read it yet. This book gives me a good introduction to the background for when I do get around to it. Matthew Aaron Bennett, the author of the text, explains that Islam is not a monolithic religion, which surprised me. I had heard of Sunnis, which make up 85% of the Muslim world, and Shiites, but I didn't understand that there are many smaller denominations of Islam. It's like Protestantism in that way. The reason for the different branches of Islam is due to controversy over what line of descent follows from Muhammad. Since the Sunni branch is the largest, Bennett focuses primarily on the Sunni understanding of Islam. The first part of the book looks at the traditional history of how Islam came to be. Then Barrett looks at questions about the authority, the sources of authority for Islam, the theology of Islam, and the practice of Islam. In the fifth part, he looks at the history and teachings of the Bible and compares them with the history and teaching of the Quran. Part 6 looks at the critical scholarship concerning the Quran. And Bennett begins with a disclaimer asking his readers not to use this section to bash Muslims about their religion. It would not be helpful in any way. This section is for the Christian in particular to understand where there are issues that they might find useful in lovingly discussing with Muslim friends. The final section looks at the difference between the teaching of the Quran and the Christian gospel. One of the issues he looks at is whether Muslims and Christians worship the same God. There has been debate about whether all monotheistic religions worship the same God or not. The book ends with a glossary of select terms, a select bibliography, and an index. This book is a tremendous resource for anyone who wants to understand the basics of Islam, especially if you're a Christian, as that's the perspective that this book is written from. It's a book I will hang on to and look to as I talk to my Muslim friends and neighbors. Islam is currently the fastest growing religion in the world. It would do us well to have some understanding of it, especially if we are to love our neighbors and introduce them to the Christian gospel.